Hi, it's Roger Sitkins, Agency Results Coach and the developer of the Agency Results Game Plan. I have a special video for you today. It's about implementing projects. You've gone through the program, you've filtered down to those things that you really believe you want to become part of this great agency, this agency you're really dreaming of. You're making choices, not taking chances. Well, it still comes down to, can you actually implement? So the tool is the Strategic Project Implementation Tool. See, something I've seen through the years in a study that I read, 20 some years ago, said that only 2% of people, only 2% can implement long-term meaningful change. Long-term meaningful change. A lot of people will take a video course, take an online course, go to a live seminar. They'll write a lot of things down, but what do they really get implemented long term? Now, the beauty of being a 2%er is you're doing what 98% will not do. So this tool will help you get implementation. One of the things we've developed through the years is 30 eye to eye. 30 days from idea to implementation. We see that most projects, if you really work on them very purposefully, really only take 30 days from getting the idea and then implementing it. However, there's some problems. Number one, we don't necessarily get buy-in from all the team members, or certainly the majority of the team members. Number two, we never get to day 30. Why? Well, we start working, we get interrupted, we lose our focus, whatever it may be. So even though it might take 30 days, it might get spread out over 6 months or a year or never, or someone said, gee, whatever happened to that great idea? So we developed the Strategic Project Implementation Tool. Strategic Project Implementation Tool. You've got a sample of it attached there. You've got a PDF of the tool. Looks like this. Okay. Let's take a look at one of the real common ones, the one that most agencies should implement. Total Account Development System, making sure that we have full-time, not part-time clients. Finding out that, you know what, average agency, 66% one policy accounts and personal lines, 49% one policy accounts in small select commercial lines. So let's start implementing a project of total account development. Now, let's break it down. What's our current situation? We start off saying, where are we today? Well, in this case, no formal plan in place. Again, 66% one policy in personal lines, 49% in select commercial, and our overall revenue per relationship in this example is $418. That's just where we are today. Now, what's the desired outcome? The desired outcome is, number one, we do want a formal plan. We want a system in place that is systematic, not sporadic. We want accountability in place, because the reality is if we don't have a culture of accountability, nothing really gets implemented long term. Our goal is to have full-time clients only, that 90% plus of the clients in our agency, no matter what category, are full-time with us. All clients have annual reviews. It's crucial to your agency that every customer have an annual review, and more than 90% of our customers have 3 policies with us. That's a pretty good outcome to work towards. So what critical indicators will this impact? Well, it will impact revenue per relationship. It will dramatically impact retention, because we all know if they're full-time, it's tough for them to leave. The more customers we have, the greater the retention. And finally, it will improve profit in the agency. So how are they affected specifically? Well, revenue per relationship in this example should increase by 50% or more when we get the system implemented. It's not overnight. We'll get it implemented within 30 days by following the plan, but then we've got to make it work for the next 3, 4, 5 years. Okay? Retention will increase by at least 5%. So if we're at 92, we should go to 97. And our operating profit will improve by at least 10%. Those are the desired outcomes. Okay? Now, let's take a look and let's be honest with ourselves. All progress starts by telling the truth. Why haven't we done this in the past? Well, I'll guarantee you, when you first heard me talk about account rounding, account development during the challenges, that you never one time said, wow, that's something I've never heard before. You know, it's always been a really, really good idea. Problem is, we never really got buy-in from the people that would have to do it. We certainly had no system in place. We had no training. We had no accountability, and we had no incentives. Gee, I wonder why we didn't have a plan that worked. I hope that didn't sound too familiar to you. So that's why we haven't done it. Why should we do it? Well, it's pretty simple. We'll have clients for life. We'll reduce E&O claims, because there won't be gaps in the coverage that we could be held accountable for. will improve the critical indicators we've talked about, and I believe that the annual review with the client is owed to them. I just can't imagine, when you think about the fiduciary responsibility you have with the client, that you wouldn't do an annual review. If you can't do an annual review, you probably shouldn't have the client, or you're happy being in the commodity business. So how did we do it? We've done all this thinking. Now we're going to say, okay, we're fast forwarding a year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, whatever it is, and we're looking back, and we have a total account development system in our organization. How did we do it? Well, number one, we got buy-in from the team. We had communication with them of what we wanted to do, how we needed to do it, and why it was important, and everybody bought in. We didn't come in and say, here's our new system, and throw it in their face. We got their buy-in. We had the team work with us to design the program. We knew our numbers. One of the most important things you've heard me talk about when we had the discussions on the financials and the key performance indicators is knowing your numbers. And it's not knowing them one time, it's checking up on them on a regular basis. We were always looking at our revenue per relationship, our percent of 1, 2, and 3 policy accounts in every area of the agency. We developed that annual review process and implemented it with our clients. Now, every client won't do it, but our goal is to have a system and procedure in place and the right structure that allows us to do an annual review with every one of our customers. We had ongoing training. It wasn't a one-time event. We were consistently talking about implementing the system, getting internal best practices delivered, practicing on a regular basis. We had accountability. Our service people had to turn in either a weekly or a monthly accountability sheet that talks about what they did and how they helped round out customers, what producers did on visiting larger customers, but we had a culture of accountability. And finally, we created a results-based compensation system that included incentives for our employees. See, in the right compensation system, when a service person gets a new customer, they say, great. And when they lose one, they say, oh no. What happens now? They get a new customer, and all too often, because the structure's not right and they're kind of that hysterical activity on the way to the grave, they get a new customer and they think, oh no, more work. And when they lose a customer, they kind of go, good, less work, but they always wound up getting paid the same. But no, we took it and we jumped on a results-based compensation system. That made it all work for us. Okay, so that was the front part. That's our planning. That's what we're saying we would do and how we actually did it and got it done. Once we know those things, now we have to go to the management action plan itself, where we're going to start looking at the individual items, who will have the responsibility, what the priority is, A, B, or C, start date, stop date, and then ongoing comments, because it's a dynamic vehicle, a dynamic tool that this management action plan, the MAP, should be reviewed at least once a month or more often. Again, we're holding people accountable. So what did we do from an action item? Well, the first thing, action item, who's going to do what by when, who's going to determine what the actual account development system looks like, who will be responsible for holding the team buy-in meeting, who's going to help us develop and be in charge of the annual review process, who's developing the training plan, who's creating the schedule and actually holding the training sessions. We develop our accountability process, who's responsible for that, who's going to be establishing individual goals with the service people and the sales people, who will create and implement the financial incentive program, that results-based compensation. How will we develop a visible progress? One of the most important things, I believe, is to track progress, but make it visible. Make it big up on the wall, big up on the monitors where people can see the progress. And then who was in charge of ongoing reinforcement? Well, if we can get all of that answered, and then we have this tool where everybody's looking at it on a regular basis, we're going to get that implemented. Now, how do you get started? I want you to go back and look at all of those projects you developed for yourself during the 8-week challenge. All those things you said you wanted to become part of this agency you've dreamt of, this agency you're choosing to become, and just boil it down to 3. And I know you have a lot more than 3. We looked at a little bit over 40 items total, but we have at least 3 things that will be the highest impact projects. 3 things you're saying, these are things that will get us the best and quickest result. Then you're going to filter that down and you're going to pick 1. This is the #1 high impact project for our agency. We will then complete a spit on that and begin implementing the program. We will absolutely have this culture of accountability. As the leader or leaders watching this bonus video, this is one of the most important things in your agency. Developing a culture of accountability that constantly challenges those people, and we can say to them, did you do what you said you were going to do? And they realize that you're very, very serious about this. We've got to plan the work and work the plan. It's an old saying, and a saying that I remember from my football days is that all plays are drawn up to be a touchdown. We never one time said, yeah, take the ball, fumble, drop back 3 yards, fumble, or take the ball, throw an interception. Every play is drawn up to be a touchdown. We've got to make sure that we are executing the plays that have been drawn up. One of the things that happens in the average agency, and I'll bet a lot of your employees said, oh no, they're involved in a Sitkins program. They're going to come back and have these great new ideas. And all too often, because maybe in the past you haven't followed through, maybe you never really got to the point of having a true action plan, maybe you never had a culture of accountability, too many of the employees say, don't worry, this too shall pass. No, not in your agency, not in the agency you're dreaming of. We've got to make sure that we identify the projects, we begin implementing the projects, and we hold people accountable. That's the bonus video. Use it. You'll be really happy with your results.